one of the points I want to make is I'm not technical. I am looking after the synergy systems at SMEC within our team. It's a fairly easy and intuitive piece of kit to use. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing at SMEC, why we think it's important to embrace this sort of technology and look at these sort of opportunities. A little bit about what we like about the software, a little about what we'd like to sort of see happen to the software, and a few tips about introducing, this sort of kit into a large corporation, whether it applies to big companies or small companies. I think the principles are somewhat the same. Been here for the last few days and listened to a lot of gags. Lane's obviously been giving it to the Aussies. I am a Kiwi myself. I think he's failed to realise that some of us actually have to live in this country, Lane. Mate, you've got no idea how many jokes I'm going to hear about the Cricket World Cup when I get back to Melbourne. A little bit about SMEC. Until yesterday, we were 5,400 employees. The company was sold yesterday to Sabana Jurong, so we've doubled in size. We're now 10,000 wide. Approximate turnover of about $1 billion. Footprint on a fairly decent global scale, for the exception of the Americas and Europe. 75 offices. I think it's more like 100 now. And I think we've got a presence in about 60 countries. Like I say, the SMEC stands for Snowy Mountains Engineering. So we were developed back in the 40s for the biggest infrastructure project in Australia, the Snowy Hydro Scheme, hence the acronym. And up until yesterday, it was 100% employee owned. And now we've got new owners, Singaporean outfit, Sabana Jurong. A little bit about our business, quick overview. It's basically 70% transport, big infrastructure based. We don't do any property. Sabana Jurong do, so we're starting to play a little bit more in that urban renewal space. Just a quick look at some of our clients. Probably most of them are quite familiar. They probably share a lot of clients with a lot of the people in this room. This is a little bit about who I am and what we do, and this is a bit more applicable to what we're trying to do with Synergy at the moment. So I manage our engineering design team. I'm also the champion of innovation in our southern region, which is Victoria, South Australia, and Western Australia. This is a bit of a footprint of our projects. We've got about 70,000 lots on our profile at the moment. We delivered just over 2,700 lots last year, just to give you a bit of context about the size of our team. Probably about 55 in our engineering team. 50 of them are probably engineers, and then there's sort of 4 or 5 caddies and admin staff. I'm an Otago man. I love my Western Bulldogs. Been in Melbourne for 5 years now. It's hard to sort of pretend that it's not just schoolboy scrag. It's actually a real game. It's a beautiful game, and big All Black supporter like Lane. So we're looking at these sort of software because we're asking ourselves that difficult question. It was last year we had a senior management conference here in Brisbane, and our CEO, Andy Goodwin, tasked everyone in the room to really ask that difficult question, like, will we be here in 5 years? It's the sort of question that a lot of other companies probably should have asked themselves a long time ago. These companies on the right here, Airbnb, Uber, Netflix, they own no content, yet they've completely disrupted some of the more conventional corporates. So as a big corporate, you've got to look at the possibilities of the structure moving forward. Children are literally being born with iPads in their hands. I mean, one of the boys last night, I won't mention his name, I don't know if he's here, but he was saying he videoed his wife's birth not too long ago, and he plays it to remind her how difficult it is. He doesn't want any more children. But I mean, the reality is these babies are shooting out the business end, and the first thing they see is an iPad or an iPhone pointing a shooter at them. So it's happening. And so probably more so than just the technology, it's actually the cultural change we're seeing now. These Xbox and PlayStation games, these online communities, Facebook, friends that don't really exist. A lot of these younger generations are coming through. They don't have that same reliance of having to do the 9 to 5, come into the workplace. Tinder, Twitter, etc., etc. So this has happened. We have evolved. I think that's a pretty good representation of where things have happened, particularly in the last 10 years. We've seen companies like Freelancer and Expert 360, KPMG Marketplace. These are virtual teams, virtual resources. There's not the same weight to have a conventional corporate structure to deliver a common goal. So no one's nailed the concept yet of actually bringing these virtual resources together towards a common goal. A lot of people have tried it, hasn't worked yet, but I guess Synergy is something that is attempting to do that with the task list and assign roles and responsibilities to individuals. So hugely hugely attractive to us to at least have a look at it. Collaboration and integration, talking about the task list, I suppose, in a minute with Synergy. The technology is evolving. Augmented reality, go Pokemon Go, whatever you want to call it. It's there. Oculus Rifts, Google Cardboard. It costs $10 to get one. You can get your iPhone, and all of a sudden you can be, in theory, looking through your Navisworks or 12D models. It's technology is available. It's real. More relevant to us is the BIM space. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about BIM and attributes, and over the last few days, the reality is that you got your architects and your engineers and your sewer engineers, your water engineers, your traffic engineers, whatever. They're all collaborating into the central model. Like, they don't need to go into work to do that, in theory. So we looked at what we were currently doing in our Melbourne team. On the left there was some of the platforms that we use. They're probably quite similar to most of your organisations. I mean, SharePoint for sharing our data and having a portal where we can navigate through information easily and share it with our clients. Microsoft Project for Gantt charts. Microsoft Access for our databases. So we use Access for a relationship database to pre-populate letters and emails based on information coming and going. Vault for housing our CAD files. Outlook, obviously, and ShareFile for moving those big data sets. It's important for us to collaborate. These people, whether it be within our office, allowing people to work from home, or whether it be using resources from multi-regional offices or even international offices, is obviously a push at the moment for global design centres. Not quite sure whether that's worked yet, but being able to sort of position yourself for that lower end engineering delivery, you need these tools to be able to bring them into your sandpit. Checklist, it's a big thing at SMEC. QA, we're very QA office. There's a tick box for just about everything. Having single point of truth, and having some security around the data too, and the document transmittals. Dealing with contractors, making sure that the information is being recorded and everyone understands what they should be building from. So we sort of looked at it and said, well, Synergy has a decent go at sort of disrupting most of those platforms. And we're in the process now of just sort of making that balancing act work. Bit of an overview of what's happened for us. Synergy came to light for me when Dion Mead from Cardno, New Zealand, I'm not sure if he's here today, but did a presentation probably about this time 2 years ago, and I think there's a lot of people in the room sort of thinking, there's something in this is pretty good. So we went away and we installed it, and to be honest, not much happened for a little while. Busy. Tay, who's our CRM in Melbourne, was very good. He pushed us a lot. He'd give me a call, Josh, I'm just around the corner, can I come and have a chat? Sort of taking me through those early steps of how to install the software, how to use it, how to navigate my way around it. So within about probably 6 months, we had 2 or 3 people working in it, just playing with it really, just understanding what the software can do. Then we started pushing a couple of projects into it. So we set up our templates and we were pretty happy with the system. It looked very similar to the Windows interface that we were working in. And we threw projects into the Synergy space, so everything in the project. So that started to bring in more like sort of 5 or so users. Anyone that worked on the project had to have Synergy installed, had to access it, whether it be for filing your emails or just grabbing the data. So there was literally no Windows environment for those 2 projects. Probably about 6 to 12 months ago, we pushed our entire design team into Synergy for 12D model. So it was mandated if you use 12D in Melbourne, you must have it in Synergy. And that allowed a lot of our guys to start working from home. We started bringing in resources from Western Sydney and Gold Coast to meet our peak workload. So that in itself enabled us to create a Synergy project for every project that we have. We've got about 30 designers, so they were constantly in 12D. In Synergy, they were becoming quite familiar with the product. That also gave us the opportunity to have a look at, excuse me. I think you agree I had probably 1 or 2 beers last night. But I did behave myself. Because we had the project set up, it allowed us to start looking at using the email function, which is an easy thing to get a wider range of lower end users into the product. I mean, the 12D designers, they're relatively high end users. It wasn't difficult for them to get into the Synergy space. But some of our project managers, particularly ones with a few grey hairs, sort of didn't quite understand how this new concept of databases worked. So They saw the benefits when we started pushing email into it. We're waiting for Synergy 3 to come out. And once that does come out, we'll put our entire office, our whole team anyway, into Synergy space, and we'll mandate the use of Synergy for our emails. A little bit about what we're doing. So task management. I'm not going to talk in too much detail about Synergy. I think most of you probably have had the chance to look at that over this conference, but we are using it for task management. We mapped our workflow. Because we're in the urban space, we're doing fairly low complex, highly scalable work breakdown structures. So we have mapped out from when we win a job right through to the end of defects liability period, so the return of fees and bonds, which happens 2 years after the PC on contract. So Synergy will populate an email 2 years after the PC has been met that you need to go and return those fees and bonds and start looking at the project again. So just a bit of an overview. I don't expect you to read that, but you can see we really did break it right down. Not suggesting this is the way we'll keep doing things, but it was certainly a way that we wanted to see how that would work. Trying to create a high-performance team, assigning roles and responsibilities to team members, setting dates, and also having that single point of truth, so being able to add notes into the tasks. So in theory, if someone went away, you could very easily jump in there and have a look and see the status of the project based on the dashboards. That's just an example of the chasing statement of compliance, which is, it depends on where you are, but for us, it's the pressure cooker for what we do. We've got to get the compliance at the pointy end of the project. Clients are chasing titles, they need titles, and we need to make sure that we don't miss anything. That's just the end of defects liability period there. We're using it for issue registers on some of our projects. We still think there's a little bit more room to move on this feature, but it allows us the opportunity to grab data very quickly, our PDF files or our drawing files, issue them to the contractor. It records that issue. It also makes it very easy to go back later on and have a look and grab that data if you need to. So as I said before, this is one of the projects that we've put into Synergy. This is a multi-stage development. We have no Windows environment on this project. We are using Vault still for our CAD management for the drawing files that leave our office. And that's only because we're trying to partner Synergy with Vault. There's a sort of corporate direction to keep using Vault at the moment. So in theory, you wouldn't need to do that. You could use Synergy for all of it. You can see here, we've got, if you can read that, we've got PDF revisions. So we run script files that stamp our PDF drawings with the revision. And then when you throw that into Synergy, it populates the PDF revision there. So that's good for the document transmittal. A little bit of a summary, you probably can't read that, but looks like we've got about 50 users, 260,000 files, and 143 12D projects within Synergy. I should say it was very easy to move those 12D projects into Synergy. It was literally a drag and drop. The only sort of downside was you had to remap your tins and shared models. Email management's been great. It's changed my life. Probably get 100 to 200 emails a day. Just being able to very quickly push it into the system made life really easy for us anyway. We didn't have a great email management system to start with, so it was a bit of a game changer for me personally. And also having that data accessible on my laptop means that if I'm working from home or from a cafe, 4G on the iPhone, it works. Populating automatic letters, so I mean attributes, listing attributes within your project, and we're still developing this feature, I must say, but the idea is that similar to our Microsoft Access database, relationship-based, pre-populate templates, fill those attributes out, and and so on. This is we're using obviously Synergy for our 12D management for our customization. So Michael and Josh, who are part of the winning team last night for the Innovation Awards, they're finding it really useful to sort of collaborate just between themselves. I mean, although they sit beside each other, they do work from home from time to time, so they can check these files in and out. It's very easy to work out who's doing what. And also it allows them to take some of the macros offline so they're not being rolled out to the wider group. A few issues. I think it's worth just talking about a couple of little glitches which are being smoothed out and I understand are mostly being addressed in the next release of Synergy. For me, just being able to push PDFs or third files automatically into Synergy would be nice. For example, you want to create a PDF from maybe a financial system. You want to push that directly into Synergy. You don't want to have to do what I'm doing at the moment, and that's push it to like a desktop folder and then drag it manually into it. I think that's one of those things that's holding back some of our grey hairs in the business. So we would like that to be a little bit more autonomous. I think it will be. Copying and pasting, I think, whether you're a Mac user or a Windows user, just right-click copy or Control-C, Control-V. I'd love to see that happen in Synergy. At the moment, you right-click copy, and you can do it. It just pushes you into a folder. Sometimes it's just easier to drag it to Windows and then bring it back in again, but it's just that extra step that I think we can avoid. Email views, I believe this has also been sorted out in the next release. It's fantastic. The view on emails is good. I like it. You can work within Outlook. There's just a couple of glitches with that at the moment. When you run a search, it defaults back to those column views on your system setup. So I'd like to see that. And it's probably just a lack of understanding from myself, but it's something that we'd like to sort out. And yeah, look, we're trying to get entirely into Synergy. At the moment, our user lib configs files are sitting in the Windows environment. So when you're at home, it's still looking at your network. You still need to map your drives. I think it's not an issue with Synergy. Apparently, 12D model needs to catch up with what's happening in Synergy. So can't give Richard a hard time about that one. Yeah, just look from a support perspective, it's been great. The support forum, whoever your local CRMs are, Tay's been great. He's really pushed us along. When the server crashes, normally due to our IT team doing something and changing an Active Directory name or whatever it might be, and Synergy falls over, these guys are always at hand, been very helpful to get us back online as quickly as possible. It'd be really nice to see opportunities to manage attributes within Synergy. Obviously, attributes have been a big part of this conference. At the moment, the way Synergy works is you list your attributes, in a list format. I'd love to be able to, create tabs and actually manage those attributes. So it might be construction, design, client attributes, whatever it might be. So all in logical formats that you can very quickly navigate to and populate that attribute. The other thing too is the ability to enter your attributes via tasks. So, if you've got your workflow mapped out and you're at that point in the project that you need to enter that construction value, for example, that then feeds into your fees and bonds calculations, go to that part of the workflow on the task list, enter your construction value, and then that actually pushes that into the project level, and then your automatic letters and templates and everything else can be populated from that attribute. All right, so a couple other feature requests. I suppose going more mobile. At the moment we're portable, but we're not all that mobile. So perhaps looking at a Synergy app for an iPhone or Android. I don't think it's on the horizon yet, but I wanted to make my case anyway. Well, I had a bit of an audience and hopefully some other support. But so Richard will probably lose some sleep over this one. But I guess it's got some obvious benefits. Cloud hosting, it's already sounds like it's an option now with replication of servers. That's something that we haven't been able to do yet under the current Synergy product. But when you've got a multi-regional office, you really do want to minimise the sync time. So we'll start looking at the opportunities of putting Synergy servers within our offices, and also maybe some of them being cloud hosted as well for the guys in the field. The other thing too is just about mobility. So if you did have an app, for example, and you went to site and you opened your Synergy app on your phone, it knows where you are in the world, it's got your coordinate. So based on that, it will automatically open up the Synergy project that at least it thinks you're in. It will populate, hey, I think you're in this part of the world. Taking photos and actually pushing photos directly into Synergy in the field, geotag, that sort of carry on. So I think there's huge, the package is well positioned to allow for that to happen, in my opinion. A little bit about introducing these products. And looking at some of the metrics with it, whether it be sort of innovative metrics or your typical general management metrics, which are very financial based, I would recommend reviewing other products. I think that's Synergy is not the only product there. You've sort of got to satisfy yourself that it is the right product for you. I think that's important too when you're putting your case forward. I certainly felt that. The first question to me was, yeah, but what else is there? Give me the full story. I found working with the right people really early on was important. So bringing in the IT people and the right general managers and the key field staff. So it's not just, when it gets to the point where you need to start paying for the software, which obviously the software costs money, it's not just your idea, it's a shared vision. So you've got some support moving that forward. KPIs are obviously important, particularly, unfortunately for an innovative product like Synergy, the answer is not, make my life easier. You need to demonstrate there'll be some increase in quality and hopefully some efficiencies and that sort of carry on. So very sort of basic overview here. We just took the view, 2,000 a lot, just for argument's sake. We looked at our work breakdown structure, worked out sort of how much time we think we're spending on the overall project, and said, well, look, let's target the project management. You know, if we can get the high performance teams working, you know, in a collaborative sort of environment with less support and less guidance, there's a good chance that we can actually dislodge our project managers and spread them across a wider base of projects. Hopefully quality too, by adhering to our QA systems. There's no point having checklists if you don't do them. We do have checklists, unfortunately. The reality for us is we've created task lists that you know, when you finish that task list, you complete it, and then it populates an email to the checker. The checker then needs to go and sign that off digitally. So we think we might get some benefits and increased quality, and that's something that we're very passionate about. And hopefully reducing rework, obviously. So a bit of a summary. It's easy to use. I'd recommend, you know, it works for us. It works for us and our team. You need to look at the big picture and whether you think it works for you or not. But I think it's cost effective. It's definitely increased productivity. And the easy win for us is email management. We don't have a great email management system to start with, so that's been a really good way to get a lot of people into the software. You know, lower end users really want to use it. Definitely helps collaborate teams. It's given us the ability to utilise our guys. We've got one guy that works from home in Kansas City in the States, another guy here in Toowoomba, and just being able to bring in our multi-regional offices has been a big win for us. So yeah, thanks for listening.